How will the courts influence the 2020 election? That's what we're answering this week on At the Polls. By now, if there's one thing we know about the 2020 election, it's that things aren't, shall we say, normal.
Coronavirus concerns have created a blizzard of absentee ballot requests.
Requests for ballots are off the charts because of the COVID safety concerns.
We've been talking about the ways that holding an election during the middle of a pandemic has presented new challenges for our institutions. Now it's time to talk about the courts and how we're fighting back, and what we can all do as voters to stand up against these unprecedented attacks against voting and our legal system.
Mail-in voting, I don't trust the people that are calling for it, demanding it. It lends itself to corruption.
In the mass mail-in system, that there is fraud.
This scam that the Democrats are pulling, it's a scam. The scam will be before the United States Supreme Court.
Hey Dale, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey Molly, it's a pleasure.
On anything related to lawsuits and voting rights, there's no one we trust more than Dale Ho, head of ACLU's Voting Rights Project.
Election years are always busy. We might normally, in a given election year, in the spring and summer, file 3 to 6 new cases that we're trying to get resolved very quickly before the election, but the pandemic has just scrambled everything. There are 16 states, for example, that normally require an excuse to vote absentee, and of those 16, I think 11 are permitting every eligible voter to vote by mail due to the pandemic. And that includes, states across the ideological spectrum, right? So states like Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts, which normally require an excuse, have finally gotten off their duffs to do something about this.
I think that's a common, almost a misconception, right? That a lot of these policies don't enjoy bipartisan support. And, we see a few tweets from the president attacking vote by mail.
Despite the fact that he votes by mail, right? Yeah. I mean, the only evidence that he's ever voted in person, I think, is like that Access Hollywood Billy Bush tape with him kind of like going to the wrong polling place 3 or 4 different times.
Oh, why? Do I have to go to a different place, actually? 520 Park Avenue. Okay, I like that location better. It's a richer location. Bye. Hi, fellas. How are you? You have my name here? I'm going to fill out the absentee ballot.
I mean, it's the hypocrisy never ceases to amaze.
This cycle, the Republican National Committee, at the direction of President Trump, has amassed a $20 million war chest for voting rights litigation across the country. In every case, they are trying to suppress the vote.
We don't normally litigate against the RNC. We normally litigate against the states. All of those cases have been about witness signature requirements, something that only 12 states require, which in the context of the pandemic, particularly for people who have pre-existing conditions and or live at home by themselves and are trying to maintain social distancing, that is a much taller ask than it would be under normal circumstances. What I would ask them is this helping their voters? We don't think that this election should be decided by who is willing to risk their health and safety in order to vote.
As it always does, the ACLU's litigation has one goal: to make sure that every eligible voter can vote and that vote is counted.
So far, somewhere between 1% and 2% of all ballots in North Carolina have been rejected because of a lack of witness signature or complete witness information. That may not sound like a lot, but this year, North Carolina has about 1 million absentee ballots requested. It wouldn't surprise me if that number doubled. So if you're talking 1% to 2% of 2 million absentee ballots, that starts to get to be a pretty significant number of ballots cast.
Here's where we get to the toughest part of the show. When we were planning an episode on the courts, we never expected this terrible tragedy.
We have some breaking news. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, has died.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away.
That's tough to absorb, obviously. I'm just hearing it right with you, Aaron.
Justice Ginsburg told her family that it was her, quote, most fervent wish that she not be replaced until a new president is installed.
The job right now is for this well-qualified nominee to be processed in committee and brought to the floor and voted on.
The president was elected to do this, and the Senate was elected to confirm this nomination.
The president and the Republican Senate have obviously focused a lot on confirming judges.
We are seeing a rapid effort to pack the courts.
A quarter of all federal circuit court judges in the country were appointed by the president.
They have confirmed over 250 judges, including many Court of Appeals judges. So in the event that the court remains an 8-member court, there's some possibility that any decision would leave the court equally divided. A 4-4 court would leave whatever the lower court decision is in place. On election day, we might see lawsuits challenging states enforcing some rules, on in-person voting or, requiring individuals who had registered absentee to go through certain procedures to vote in person. So that's one variety of litigation that, often happens during elections. I think, however, this year, it is possible we will see a few others. One is litigation along the lines of what the president and the Republican Party have been previewing, which is efforts to stop counting ballots after Election Day. All of these arguments are going to be pretty out there, extremely outlandish and destabilizing, given that states routinely count ballots after Election Day. But I think the risk is that a 6-3 court could embrace even wilder theories that either the RNC or different states might offer up for why they can't or shouldn't be counting ballots that come in after Election Day or that aren't counted by the end of Election Day. And the risk that those theories might be adopted in ways that affect the integrity of this election is, I think, quite alarming to people. But I do want to say, all of this is very doomsday and can sound extremely depressing. None of that means the outcome is somehow determined or overdetermined. What it does mean, however, is that absolutely everyone needs to vote. They need to ensure that they know their state laws for how to vote. And those laws might change, so you need to stay up on this. I know there's so much going on and it can seem overwhelming, but the only solution here is, again, a landslide election. And that is only possible if everybody votes.
And this is the point that we keep coming back to. Every single voter has a tremendous amount of power. If you haven't already, make your plan to vote today. Learn the laws and deadlines in your state, and however it is that you plan to vote, do it early. Thank you for watching our 3rd episode of At the Polls. If you want to know more about the role of the USPS in this election or what election night might look like this year, check out episodes 1 and 2. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.